All right, so let's say you have a strong passport like the American passport or the Canadian passport. You have all the visa free in the world. Can you destroy your reputation? Can you destroy your travel mobility by doing a mistake of purchasing a CBI citizenship by investment citizenship? There are 7 or 8 or 9 countries that are on the list which sell you the passport for a cash donation. And prior to this year in 2025 and before that, typically the banks used to flag this type of citizenship, but now the UK has, as of today, launched the ETA system where they're going to take a sneak peek in if you have a second passport from one of these nations. And towards the end of this year, the entire EU region is going to roll out the ETIAS, the ITAS system, but they're essentially going to do the same thing. So they're going to take a look, sneak peek into if you have a CBI country. And there's certain CBI programs that are OECD blacklisted. So what happens? Let's say you're an American or a Canadian, you have enjoyed a clean, visa-free access to the Schengen area or the UK area. You used to just simply landing in those countries. Now with the ETA or the ITAS, of course, you got to go online and apply. It takes a couple of minutes to get that approval and go. But let's just make a scenario, right? Let's just say that you purchased a CBI passport. What happens? Do you get blocked? Does that get flagged? I'm going to discuss 3 major impacts that have been designed to go in effect in 2026. So if you already have a passport, the big question a lot of people are asking, should you renounce that citizenship, the impacted or affected citizenship? And the other big question is, you don't have one, should you purchase a CBI passport? Is it going to do anything good for you? Or is it going to completely ruin your background? Your, let's say, a strong passport may not matter at all. What would matter is the fact that you have this blacklisted or sanctioned or a flagged nationality. Now, let's look at the impact a little bit here. I wanted to discuss this. This is very important. So first, I would like to kind of walk through what is the existing situation. Now, you can still use, let's say I'm taking an example of a Canadian passport. You can still use your Canadian passport to enter the UK, EU, or US visa free. The border card computer sees Canadian citizen. All right, you're processed as such and let go. But now with the new system in the UK and particularly the ITAS catch later in 2026. So by late 2026, once this goes into effect, the EU will have fully implemented the ITAS, a digital travel authorization system. When you can apply for an ITAS on your Canadian passport, you're legally required to disclose all other citizenships. So let's say you purchased a Nauru, or you purchased a Vanuatu, or you purchased an SKN. You have to truthfully answer that. You don't want to be caught in citizenship or immigration fraud, I should say, and that will debar you from entering that territory. So you're obviously going to truthfully answer. Here is the big risk. Now, if you disclose a blacklisted citizenship, right? EU blacklisted, they keep blacklisting CBI passport programs. So if you, let's say, disclose one of them, and your ITAS might move you from automatic approval. So let's say you were a Canadian or American, automatic approval, in you go. But here, now because you have listed a blacklisted one, in addition to your home country citizenship, it's flagged for manual review. It could be flagged for manual review. The border agency may worry that you are using your Canadian passport to launder the identity of someone who would otherwise be flagged on their CBI passport. It won't stop you from traveling, but the impulse travel to Paris might require a 72-hour wait for approval instead of 2 minutes. And if they uncover something else, if they detect something fishy, then of course they're going to obviously take longer or deny your entry. Worst case scenario, you have a blacklisted nationality. They might say, sorry, too much risk, we can't let you go. You should apply for a normal visa using your, let's say, a Canadian or American passport in your embassy, and then we will take a look at your application. So the travel is the initial impact that will start happening once the ETA is live, but when the ITAS goes live. The second impact here, and this is a complicated one, is a banking issue. So the real blacklist harm will happen. This is where holding a blacklisted CBI hurts a Canadian the most. Global banks don't just care about what passport you're holding today, they care about your global tax persona. The red flag. If you previously used your CBI passport to open an offshore account, let's say in Dubai, Singapore, or Switzerland, that account now is linked to a high risk jurisdiction. And here's the squeeze. Once a program is OECD blacklisted, banks are often required to perform enhanced due diligence on anyone associated with it. Even if you show them your Canadian passport, the fact that you also hold a blacklisted citizenship can trigger a request for 3 to 5 years of tax returns. So at this point, they're not too happy that you have a Canadian passport. That's okay. We don't care about that. But you have a blacklisted nationality. So you know what? The goodness of the Canadian passport is not going to matter. The fact that you have a blacklisted nationality supersedes, and they're going to request all these. The second one, freezing of funds until source of wealth is re-verified. Refusal to open up new accounts because your risk profile is too high for the bank's compliance software. So Canada is good, but the blacklisted nationality is not good. Three, the identity laundering acquisition. In 2026, the OECD and FATF Financial Action Task Force are specifically targeting what they call identity laundering, a new terminology. They keep throwing these new fancy terms at you, but you got to know what they are because they matter, right? If you're a Canadian who suddenly acquired a Nauru or a Sao Tome passport and the program ends up being blacklisted, international authorities may suspect you are trying to hide assets from, let's say, the CRA in case of Canada, IRS in case of the US. Holding a blacklisted passport makes you a person of interest in tax transparency audits. It's like having a bad neighborhood listed on your global ID, even if you're a good citizen. Now let's discuss the TIN number that some of these programs ask for. I'm going to take an example of Nauru. If you take that form, right? So Nauru wanted to set up the best of the best due diligence to report to these Western countries to stay in good standing. And it had the best of the best forms for them to collect all the information. But guess what? They weren't happy. They still terminated the UK access. They terminated the EU access. And now that passport is almost useless if you want to travel the Western world. But guess what? The form is asking you for a very vital piece of information. It's asking you for your current TIN number. The tax identification number could be your SIN number for Canada, SSN number for US, and so on. Now, once you provide that number, what happens? What happens is that number is kept on file. It's hard coded to your original nationality. So yes, you might have a Nauru passport on surface level, but one layer down, you're still associated with your home country nationality. Maybe you're a US citizen. That is what really is going to matter. So the pointer from that Nauru citizenship points directly to your SSN or SIN or any other tax ID that you're providing to that Nauru office. And let's say you head to a bank, right, and you show the Nauru passport. The bank might not be that happy because the CBI purchased passport. So they might do, more likely, they might want to do an enhanced due diligence check. And once they do that, they're going to ask you everything, right? But let's say they don't, and you tell them that you actually live in Nauru or let's say Paraguay. What they're going to do is they're going to inform Nauru, the CRS is going to kick in. And if there's confusion, the CRS 2.0 is going to inform everyone. At least in CRS, previous CRS 1.0, they were informing one country that they thought was your real tax country, but under the 2.0, they're going to fire in all directions, your country of birth, your country of nationality, obviously Nauru. Now, once Nauru gets that request from your bank account, your bank details, Nauru is going to obviously detect or know that this is hard-coded to your SIN or SSN. They're going to accordingly supply this information to your home country. That way, all the entities that show up associated on your profile are going to be notified. So forms which ask you for that SSN or TIN or SIN, you got to understand. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's a very good thing that they're doing. But you as the investor needs to be aware of what are the underlying consequences or why it's being requested. Let's take a second example. Let's pick up a form of Sao Tome and Principe. That does not ask you for the SIN or TIN or those tax ID numbers. Instead, can happen, the negative consequences that can happen is if Sao Tome anyways, it's a new program, so it's not being flagged. But let's say, is there a risk that it could be flagged? We don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But let's say it lands up on an EU blacklisted database. Typically, the way it starts is they make a request to the program, hey, hand over the names or hand over the data, share more data, share more. They let them purchase the passports, but then share all the data with the Western world. And if they don't do that, then they land up on lists which are blacklisted. And let's say that happens, then the example that I covered before, when you're applying for any of the ETAs or ITAs, that's where a blacklisted program shows up. Now, the big question is, should you get this passport? Is it doing anything good, or is it really harming your situation? Now, well, that's a risk that you want to evaluate. What is the good? What is the use case? The use case is a layering solution where you get this passport and maybe you're applying for a residency in a moderate country like Uruguay, Paraguay, any of the Latin countries, maybe Panama and those type of residencies, or Dubai or Malaysia. Banking, I would say, not so much useful. You want a real citizenship. What's the solution? The big solution now, you got to be prepared. In 2026, the big solution is citizenship by merit options. Thankfully, there are countries that have citizenship by merit options available. They're low-hanging fruits. Some examples are Albania, Serbia, Georgia, and there are a few other countries, including one option in Africa where you can quietly get a passport. It's not a CBI. It's not going to be flagged as a CBI. And then, of course, residencies are going to be your friends. Keep your residencies, and banks let you open up account using a residency card. So that is what you want to strike in future. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Is it still a good idea to purchase a CBI passport? You rather stay away from these CBI passports in 2026? And also the second one, I'm really curious to hear your opinion, is if someone has a CBI passport, is it a good time to renounce the CBI passport? Sadly, the ITAS and the ETA also asks you for your prior nationality. So even if you have renounced it, got done with it, it's going to be stuck with you for the rest of your life because you were a citizen of this country before. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and catch you in the next one.